My brother had a way of taking, from our parents, from me, from anyone who cared. He drained them of money and trust long before they passed. After the funeral, he disappeared, leaving chaos behind. Years later, he showed up at my door, asking for more. I realized then that family isn't just about blood, it's about boundaries. Some people will take everything if you keep giving. Hear this. There's a special kind of pain that comes from watching someone you love destroy the people who love them most. My brother didn't just take from our parents. He made them thank him for it. He drained them of money, hope, and dignity, all while wearing that same charming smile that got him out of trouble as a kid. By the time they died, there was nothing left. No savings. No home. No peace. And when I needed him most, when they needed him most, he was gone. But the story doesn't end there. 3 years after our mother's funeral, he came back. Not to apologize. Not to grieve. To ask for more. This is the story of how I learned that loving someone and letting them destroy you are two very different things. Welcome to my Reddit diaries, where every story reveals the unseen battles within families. Don't forget to subscribe, and tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? Rain hits my window in steady rhythm. I'm staring at an old photograph, the edges worn from years of being tucked away in a drawer I rarely open. Mom, Dad, me at 12, and Marcus at 16. His arm is draped over Dad's shoulder, that confident grin plastered across his face. Even in a still image, you can see it. The favoritism. The pride in Dad's eyes when he looked at Marcus. The way I'm standing slightly apart, like I already knew my place. Marcus was everything I wasn't. Athletic. Charming. The kind of person who walked into a room and owned it without trying. He played varsity basketball, dated the prettiest girls, had friends who actually wanted to be around him. I was the kid with the straight A's nobody celebrated, the scholarship everyone expected, the son who existed in the margins of our parents' attention. I learned early that love in our family was currency, and Marcus was born rich while I had to earn every cent. The golden child. That's what they call kids like Marcus. The one who can do no wrong, even when they're doing everything wrong. And Marcus perfected that role. He dropped out of college sophomore year. I remember Dad's face when he got the call. Disappointment lasted maybe a week before Marcus came home with his pish. He had this way of talking, you know? Made failure sound like vision. Made recklessness sound like courage. He told Dad about this business opportunity, some investment that would change everything. He just needed a little capital to get started. $20,000. Dad wrote the check. The business never materialized. 6 months later, Marcus had another idea. Then another. Each time, the pattern was the same. Big promises. Bigger failures. And our parents, they kept believing. Kept giving. Mom would say things like, he's finding his path, and everyone matures at their own pace. Dad would nod, pull out the checkbook, and I'd watch another piece of their retirement disappear. I tried to say something once. I was 25, Marcus was 29. I'd just gotten my first real job, actually earning my own money, paying my own bills. I came over for Sunday dinner and saw the stack of unpaid bills on the counter. Electric, water, property tax notice stamped in red. Dad, are you guys okay financially? I asked. He looked at me like I'd insulted him. We're fine. Just helping your brother get on his feet. He's been on his feet for 10 years. That's enough. His voice had that edge that meant the conversation was over. When you have kids, you'll understand. Family helps family. But I was family too. I just didn't need help, so I didn't matter as much. The years crawled by. Marcus's schemes got bigger and the crashes got harder. He started a landscaping business that lasted 4 months. Invested in a friend's tech startup that turned out to be vaporware. Got involved in some multi-level marketing thing that cost Mom and Dad another $15,000 when it collapsed. Each time, he'd disappear for a while, and each time he came back, they welcomed him with open arms and open wallets. Mom got sick when I was 32. She needed surgery. Nothing life-threatening, but important. Quality of life stuff. The insurance covered most of it, but there was a gap. About $8,000 they needed to come up with. I offered to help. I had savings. I could cover it. Mom said no. She actually said no to me. 2 weeks later, I found out why. Marcus had called with another opportunity. A restaurant partnership. He just needed $30,000 to buy in. It was a sure thing. The restaurant never opened. I went to their house one evening in November. Let myself in with a key I'd had since high school. The heat was turned down so low I could see my breath. Mom was sitting in the living room wearing her winter coat. Inside her own home. Wearing a coat because they couldn't afford to heat the house properly. I turned the thermostat up. She protested. I ignored her. I sat down next to her on that old couch, the one they'd had since I was a kid, and I asked her why. Why did they keep giving him money? Why did they let him do this? She looked at me with these tired eyes and said, because I'm his mother. If I don't help him, who will? What about helping yourselves? She didn't answer. She just patted my hand like I was the one who didn't understand. Dad had a stroke 3 months later. Massive. The kind that changes everything. He survived, but the medical bills didn't care about survival. They piled up like cordwood. 6 figures of debt. The insurance covered some, but not enough. Never enough. They had to sell the house. The house I grew up in. The house Dad built half of with his own hands. They moved into a small apartment across town. 2 bedrooms. Thin walls. Nothing like home. I handled everything. The hospital visits. The insurance calls. The estate planning nobody wants to do but everyone needs. I took time off work. Burned through my vacation days and then some. Dipped into my savings to cover the costs they couldn't manage. Marcus called twice during that whole ordeal. Twice. Both times to ask if they were okay, but never actually showing up to find out. He sent a few texts. Generic stuff. Thinking of you. Let me know if you need anything. But when I called and said, yes, we need you here, we need help, the line went quiet and he'd make an excuse. Distance. Timing. He wasn't at work. He'd been fired from his latest job 6 weeks before Dad's stroke. Dad recovered enough to come home to that apartment. He lasted 8 months before the second stroke took him. Mom held on for another 6 months after that. She got smaller every time I visited. Not just physically. Everything about her seemed to shrink. Her voice. Her spirit. The light in her eyes. 3 days before she died, I was sitting next to her hospital bed. She was on morphine by then, drifting in and out. But she grabbed my hand with surprising strength and pulled me close. I'm sorry we never saw you, she whispered. I'm sorry we gave him everything. I thought if we loved him enough, he'd change. Those were the last words she said to me. The funeral was small. Friends from church. A few neighbors. My boss came, which was kind. I stood at the front and delivered the eulogy. I talked about Mom's kindness, her strength, her love. I kept scanning the room. Kept checking the door. Kept hoping. Marcus didn't come. After the service, after everyone left, I stood alone at the gravesite. The rain started again, light at first, then heavier. I didn't move. I just stood there watching the workers lower her casket next to Dad's. Together again. Finally at peace. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A voicemail. I almost didn't check it, but something made me pull out the phone and press play. Marcus's voice filled my ear. Casual. Like he was calling about weekend plans. Hey, sorry I couldn't make it today. Had some things I needed to handle. Listen, can you call me back when you get a chance? There's something we need to talk about regarding Mom and Dad's estate. The estate. He didn't say, I'm sorry for your loss. He didn't say, I'm sorry I missed Mom's funeral. He said estate. I stood there in the rain, phone in my hand, listening to my brother reduce our mother's death to a transaction. And I realized something that should have been obvious years ago. Marcus wasn't coming back to grieve. He was coming back to collect. I deleted the voicemail. I walked to my car. I drove home through the rain and the dark. And for 3 years, I didn't hear from him again. Until the day he showed up at my door. 3 years. That's how long it took me to rebuild what Marcus and grief had broken. I got promoted at work. Started seeing a therapist who actually helped. Learned what boundaries meant, not just as a concept but as a practice. My apartment was small but mine. Every piece of furniture I bought myself. Every bill I paid on time. It wasn't much, but it was clean. Honest. Built on my own terms. Saturday morning. I was drinking coffee, scrolling through my phone, enjoying the silence. Then came the knock. Not aggressive. Not timid. Just persistent. The kind of knock from someone who knows you're home and isn't leaving until you answer. I opened the door mid-sip. Marcus stood there. He looked different. Older. Thinner. His beard was unkempt but styled that way on purpose. He wore a worn jacket and boots that had seen better days, but his eyes still had that spark. That confidence that never quite died no matter how many times life knocked him down. Hey, little brother, he said, like 3 years was 3 days. Can I come in? I should have said no right there. But old habits die hard. Old programming runs deep. I stepped aside. He walked in, hands in his pockets, looking around my apartment like he was cataloging everything. Nice place. Small but nice. He sat on my couch without asking. Made himself comfortable. You look good. Healthy. I stayed standing. What do you want, Marcus? Can't I just visit my brother? You didn't visit for 3 years. You didn't visit when Mom died. You called about the estate. Something flickered in his expression. Guilt maybe. Or the performance of guilt. With Marcus, it was always hard to tell. I know. I messed up. I've been dealing with a lot. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I was ashamed, okay? Ashamed that I wasn't there when they needed me. When you needed me. I couldn't face you after that. But I've been working on myself. Therapy. Real therapy. It's helped me see how much I hurt everyone. The words were right. The tone was right. And part of me, That kid who used to look up to his older brother, wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe people could change. I'm glad you're getting help, I said carefully. I'm engaged now. Did you know that? He pulled out his phone, swiped through some photos. I couldn't see them from where I stood. Her name's Rachel. She's pregnant. I'm going to be a dad. That's great, Marcus. Yeah, it is. It's made me want to do better. Be better. I've got a steady job now. Construction management. Good company. Benefits. The whole thing. He put his phone away. But here's the thing. The company I'm with just landed this massive contract. If I can invest $25,000, I become a partner. Guaranteed returns. Real ownership. This is my chance to finally do right. To build something real. To pay you back for everything. There was the ask. Wrapped in redemption and promises, but still the same ask. Pay me back. I set my coffee down. Marcus, you never paid Mom and Dad back. You took over $100,000 from them and you didn't even come to Mom's funeral. I was in a dark place. We were all in a dark place. They were dying and you were somewhere else. I know. His voice cracked just right. I know, and I hate myself for it. But that's why this matters. This is my chance to honor them. To prove I'm not that person anymore. I've changed. I swear to you I've changed. I wanted to throw him out right then. But doubt crept in. What if he had changed? What if this was real? People do change. Addicts get sober. Liars learn honesty. What if I was the one being unfair? I need to think about it, I said. Of course. Take your time. He stood, walked to the door. Then turned back and hugged me. Tight. The kind of hug that felt like forgiveness and family and everything I'd been missing. I knew I could count on you. You were always the strong one. Always the one who had it together. After he left, I sat on my couch staring at the door for 20 minutes. Then I called Janet Henderson. Old family friend. Mom's book club. She'd always been straight with me. Janet, has Marcus contacted you recently? Silence on the other end. Then a sigh. He came by last month. Asked for $15,000. Some investment opportunity. I told him no. My stomach dropped. Did he mention a fiancé? A baby? Not to me. Why? I thanked her and hung up. Then I did what I should have done first. I searched for Marcus online. His Facebook was private, but he was tagged in photos. Recent ones. Marcus at a casino 2 months ago. Comments from friends. Big spender. When you hitting the tables again? No fiancé in any photo. No mention of a baby. Just Marcus, doing what Marcus always did. The engagement was a lie. The baby was a lie. Maybe the job was real, maybe it wasn't. But the pattern was undeniable. 3 days later he came back. No call this time. Just showed up. His demeanor was different. Less apologetic. More urgent. I need an answer. This opportunity closes Friday. You're really going to let your own brother down? I talked to the Hendersons. I saw the photos, Marcus. There's no fiancé. No baby. Just you, doing what you've always done. His face changed. The mask slipped and something ugly underneath showed through. You've been checking up on me? Seriously? You think you're better than me? You were always Mom and Dad's little backup plan. The boring one who did what he was told. The one nobody actually wanted around. Get out. You got the insurance money, didn't you? That was supposed to be split between us. You owe me half. I walked to my bedroom and came back with a folder. I'd been carrying it since the day he showed up. Bank statements. Canceled checks. Every single one made out to Marcus. I'd documented everything after Mom died. Needed to see it in black and white to believe it myself. There was no insurance money, Marcus. They cashed out their policies to cover your debts 5 years ago. Everything they had left went to medical bills and the funeral I paid for. Alone. I opened the folder and showed him the spreadsheet. $183,000. 15 years of checks, loans, bailouts. All to him. So that's it. His voice was cold now. All pretense gone. You're just going to abandon family? After everything I did for you growing up? Everything you did for me? Name one thing, Marcus. One thing you did for me after you turned 16. He couldn't. He stood there, jaw working, searching for something that wasn't there. Get out. And don't come back. He moved toward the door, then stopped. One last card to play. They'd be ashamed of you. Mom always said family forgives. I met his eyes. Mom also died apologizing for choosing you over me. I won't make the same mistake. I closed the door. Slid the chain lock into place. The sound was final. Absolute. I pressed my back against the door and slid down to the floor. And for the first time since they died, I let myself cry. Not for Marcus. But for the brother I never really had. The days after Marcus left were strange. I kept expecting to feel guilty. Kept waiting for that familiar weight of shame to settle in my chest. The voice that said I'd failed as a brother, that I'd turned my back on family, that I was the bad guy in this story. But it never came. Instead, there was just relief. And exhaustion. And grief for a brother who never actually existed outside my imagination. I had a therapy session that Thursday. Told my therapist everything. She listened the way she always did, patient and present, then asked me a question that hit harder than I expected. What would your parents want for you now? I sat with that for a long time. Not what they wanted when they were alive, caught in their own patterns and blind spots. But if they could see clearly now, free from whatever drove them to choose Marcus over and over, what would they want? They'd want me to be free, I finally said. To not make their mistakes. Then honor that. I blocked Marcus's number that night. Changed my locks the next day. He tried to reach out through Facebook, through email. The messages bounced between apologetic and threatening. I'm sorry, please give me another chance. Then, you're going to regret this. Then back to, I'm your brother, how can you do this to me? I didn't respond to any of them. But I saved everything. Just in case. 2 weeks later, I got an unexpected message. A woman named Jennifer. She'd found me through mutual family connections. Said she used to be married to Marcus. Asked if we could meet for coffee. We met at a quiet place downtown. She was in her 40s, kind eyes, the look of someone who'd survived something difficult and come out stronger. She ordered tea and got straight to it. I was married to your brother for 3 years. Divorced him 8 years ago. I wanted you to know you're not alone in what you experienced. She told me her story. How Marcus had drained her savings. Forged her signature on loans she never agreed to. Disappeared with their wedding gifts, the cash people had given them to start their life together. She'd spent years rebuilding her credit, her life, her ability to trust. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because when I finally left him, I felt like I was the only person in the world who'd experienced this. Like maybe I was crazy. Maybe it was my fault. Then I found a support group for families dealing with people like Marcus. People who aren't quite addicts, aren't quite abusers, but destroy everyone around them just the same. It saved my life. I thought maybe it could help you too. I went to that support group the following Tuesday. 8 people sitting in a circle in a church basement. Everyone had a story. A brother who emptied their father's retirement account. A sister who stole from their grandmother. A son who manipulated his way through 3 families' bank accounts. The details were different, but the pattern was devastatingly familiar. The facilitator said something I wrote down in my phone. The person you love and the person causing harm are the same person. Accepting that means grieving who you wish they were. That's what I'd been doing without realizing it. Grieving the brother I wanted Marcus to be. The one who protected me as a kid before the golden child syndrome took over. The one who might have shown up if things had been different. But that brother was a ghost. A story I told myself. The real Marcus was exactly who he showed me he was, over and over again. A month later, I was going through old boxes in my closet. Things I'd grabbed from Mom and Dad's apartment after they died but never really sorted through. I found a stack of letters in Mom's handwriting. Addressed to Marcus but never sent. Pages and pages of anguish, doubt, guilt. One letter stopped me cold. She'd written it 2 weeks before she died. I enabled you, and in doing so, I abandoned your brother. I taught you that love means giving until there's nothing left. I taught him that his worth was conditional. I failed you both, but in different ways. I pray someday he finds the strength I never had. To say no to you and yes to himself. I sat on my bedroom floor and cried. Not for Marcus. For the trap she'd been caught in. For the pain she'd carried that I never fully understood. She knew. At the end, she knew. I decided something that day. I forgave them. Not for their choices, but for their humanity. They did their best with the understanding they had. And maybe that's all any of us can do. A year passed. I was doing better. Really better. Dating someone who actually respected my boundaries. Closer with friends who'd stuck around through everything. Still in therapy, but the weight was lighter now. Then I got a certified letter. Marcus had been arrested. For multiple victims. He'd run the same construction partnership scam on at least a dozen people. Total damages over $300,000. My phone rang 2 days later. Detective with the county sheriff's office. Mr. Coleman? Your brother Marcus listed you as his next of kin. He's asking if you'll post bail. It's $50,000. The old guilt tried to surface. The voice that said family helps family. What would people think? But then I remembered. Mom's letter. The support group. Jennifer across from me with her tea. Every person Marcus had used up and thrown away. I'm not his next of kin, I said clearly. I'm the person he used and discarded. The answer is no. The detective was quiet for a moment. Then, between you and me? Good call. You're the 6th family member I've called. The others all said yes at some point. That's how guys like him get this far. 6 months later, I'm standing at my parents' gravesite. First time since the funeral. I bring flowers. Yellow roses for Mom. She loved those. I don't hate Marcus anymore. I've moved past that. I pity the man who'll spend his life taking because he never learned how to build. But pity doesn't mean I have to set myself on fire to keep him warm. I used to think saying no to family made you heartless. But I've learned something. The people who demand everything are the ones who won't give anything. Real love doesn't drain you dry. It doesn't apologize while reaching for your wallet. It doesn't show up only when it needs something. Some people will take everything if you keep giving. Not always because they're evil, though some are. But because you taught them they could. The hardest word you'll ever learn is no, especially when you're saying it to someone you love. But your worth isn't measured by how much you sacrifice. It's measured by how well you protect the life you've fought to build. I walk back to my car. The sun breaks through the clouds. My phone buzzes. Text from Sarah asking if I want to grab dinner tonight. I smile and type back, yeah, I'll be there. I drive away, leaving the old family photo on the gravestone. Finally letting go. Family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up, who stays, who loves you without conditions. I'm building that family now. And this time, I'm choosing people who choose me back. If this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. We share stories like this every day on my Reddit diaries. Real stories about the unseen battles we face with family, love, and finding ourselves. And please, drop a comment below. Tell me how you feel about this story. Have you ever had to set boundaries with someone you love? How did it turn out? I read every comment, and your stories matter. Thanks for being here. Until next time.